You are now listening to The Unwavering, the movement dedicated to educating and empowering the brave men and women who have or are still serving our great nation. What's up, everyone? This is Kevin with another episode of The Unwavering. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see, we are officially launching our first video. So this will be available both via our podcast on Apple iTunes, Google, Stitcher, all those platforms, but now also on YouTube. Before we begin, as always, just a huge thank you to the military community, all of you veterans, active duty service members, and reservists. We wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for you guys. A little bit about myself before we begin. I'm an 8-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I served aboard the VH-60, VH-3 Delta, and CH-53 helicopters as an avionics technician, quality assurance inspector, and communications security advisor. I really just wanted to use this moment to talk about us as veterans, as service members, and show the world that we're capable of a lot more. So at this time, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Tom and let him introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Awesome to be on your show. So yeah, my name's Tom Burden. I'm the inventor of Grypmat. It's a flexible tool tray, gives you a safe place to set your tools. And how I came up with it was, I was an F-16 mechanic in the Air Force, was tired of my tools slinging off the aircraft. And later in my mom's car, I saw that she had a non-slip mat on her dashboard to keep her cell phone in place when driving. And I was like, well, we can make these larger for tools. And after prototyping for about 3 years, finally brought the product to market, started selling it, and now we're selling rubbers all over the world. So it's pretty exciting.
I know he's making it sound simple, but if you guys have followed him via social media, via articles that are being published, Tom is definitely being more humble than he should be. I mean, this guy has put in an incredible amount of work, and we're kind of going to get into that story. How did such a simple concept turn into the business that he has built today? And how is he continuing to inspire other people from the military community or even people outside of that community? So the first question that I had was, can you kind of give us a little bit more insight as to who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, so I was Air National Guard specifically, which is like 2 clicks higher than an Eagle Scout compared to the Marines. So at the same time, I was going to college for mechanical engineering and grew up doing a lot of, general construction with my dad. He did that on the side hustle. And my another side hustle was working on, or he had a snow removal business, which if you ever do snow removal, that means you're always working on the snow removal equipment because it's always breaking. And so just very familiar with tools and kind of like a general handyman. And when it transitioned to like working on the fighter jet, at the same time having the background of mechanical engineering of understanding how to design products and like create new products. And it really threw me in the deep end of having this like issue of like tool control. And so in the aviation industry, they're extremely strict, especially in the military, very strict on not losing any tools, which it sounds like, you've got a military maintenance background as well. So you can probably understand like the whole FOD issues and not losing anything. So on top of the aircraft, very slick, very curved, nowhere to set anything. And I was like, I want to solve this problem. It really like highlighted the issue where like when you're working on a snow plow, losing your tools, it's not as big of a pain point. It's still a pain point and it's slightly different, but just with the exaggeration that was happening in the military, I was just like, I'm going to solve this problem. And in high school, I was a part of a tech school, a vocational school that helped me. So the first vocational school was machine trade. So I would make things with a lathe or a mill. And then going into CAD work. So anything I was like designing, I knew how it was made, because sometimes designers, if they don't have that background, they're making things that can't be built. So it was pretty, had a unique background of that tech school. And once it like crossed over with the unique job of like working on fighter jets, that's when like the magic happened of sparking the idea. So, growing up, I feel like with my parents, there was quite a bit of, my dad did the snow removal, like he's a semi driver for UPS, and he, has the two side hustles. And my mom, she's an extreme couponer, and she gets all the stuff and sells it on the garage sale. So I'm like growing up pretty well versed with side hustles, but like, when it came to the point of like making it the full-time hustle, that was, definitely a growing point. But, the foundation was there, and the knowledge of the, basic entrepreneurship was there. I never really had like a lemonade stand, but I did have a hot dog stand. My mom would get like 100 hot dogs for like 25 cents. And, it was funny as a kid, like I'd be sitting there all day, like trying to sell hot dogs. And then at the end of the day, I'd have like $20. And I'd be like, Mom, we got $20. Like, I didn't think I was selling that much. And then she would be like, well, I gave you $10 and change. And then, there's $2 in like plates, napkins, and buns and hot dogs. So like you actually just made $8. And I'm like, Mom, like you're taking the money back? Like I just didn't understand it. But then I started to like really get it. And then another thing that my parents did was half of all of my money, they'd have me put in the bank. So I thought I had $20 going down to $8, and then they're making me put half that $8 in the bank. So I only had like $4, and I'm like, damn, like I got my world rocked, of just like, how money works. But, now, I'm really good saver, and, call me stingy, call me Steve or cheap, but, I'm not in debt, not broke at all. So, I think it like really paid off. And I see like a lot of issues with people who aspire or like want to be entrepreneurs that don't have their money right. And it's just like a massive added burden that is hard to hold while you're building a company. So little bit of my background.
No, that's awesome. It's cool to hear you say that. And especially when you think about the lessons that you were taught when you were young,
Yeah.
I think some of those things were absolutely fundamental. Your parents teaching you the value in saving and investing, whether you saw it then or not, at least now that you're an adult, now that you're in a position and, you're working on your own company, obviously those things are extremely important. And the other part that I wanted to touch on was, again, going back to your military service. I think that's a part that is also crucial to who you are and how far you've come. Because you're right, in aviation, losing a tool, while it may sound like something, simple, hey, you lost a screwdriver, it's not. There've been times where I was working on a job and either I lost something or another person lost something, and immediately the maintenance department was like, hey, shut down all flights. We're
Yeah.
done flying. Bring all the birds back until we find this tool. So you're absolutely right. In military aviation, that's a huge issue. And you don't really see that in other areas. I think airlines and stuff like that, they do a good job, but I don't think it's as strict. So I
Right.
think, that was probably something that was pivotal in you coming up with this idea. And I've seen it from other veterans or other service members as well. While they're in the military, they see something that they're just tired of. They're tired of losing tools. They're tired of having tarps fly off Humvees. So they create a hook and then get into government contracting, sell it back to the government, and make millions. Why? Because they knew the problem. They spent enough times wishing there was a solution, and over time their mind just started to crank and they came up with something. So that's awesome. I'm glad that this is going to serve as a video and an example of everyday service members going on and taking what they learned or what they struggled with and taking it to the next level, because I think that's really great.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
there's a lot of opportunities now, for if you do have an idea that's in the military, like regarding the military, for a lot of applications you can submit for R&D funding. We've got a couple ideas that we've submitted for in the Army and also in the Air Force. So yeah, some are maintenance related, some are actually infantry related. So it's there's a lot of opportunities out there. It's cool that I feel like there's been a big shift in the military of like being more innovative. So it's kind of cool to see that come to fruition.
Right, 100%. I think when you look, especially now that social media is being utilized by every branch of the military, by the Department of Defense, you see them hosting a lot more innovation challenges. They're providing a lot more funding for people to go to classes like Boots for Business, and get people to start thinking about following a path of entrepreneurship. So just, again, I'm extremely grateful for my service. It's opened a ton of doors, and getting to see someone like you who has gone down, yes, different paths, but um, served and taken an idea to the next level is just great. The question I was going to ask you next is, when you were in the military, did you always find yourself like tinkering with things, inventing in your spare time? Like, did you always have that inventor kind of mindset?
Growing up, I played a lot with Legos, and I feel that really gave me like really strong 3D imagery skills. And I always like wanted to be an inventor. It was kind of like, I felt like I had a lot of, novel or, new ideas. And it got to the point where I was like, it's just it's like, got to make this. It's time to make the product. Um, there's kind of, so one quick story was I had a final, like I was in college where it was going through finals, and I got a phone call from this aviation company um, in Toledo. And this was like the company that I felt like would be perfect to connect with. I could, get the Grypmat, all over the airlines industry. So they wanted to meet the same time. The only time that they could meet was the same time as a college final. And I skipped the final and I went to the meeting, and I just like wrote a note and left it on the teacher's desk, like on his door to his office. And I was like, we'll just hopefully he's cool with it. I'll do what I can to like clean up afterwards and see if he, I don't fail the class. And I go to the meeting, and there was like, what was happening was I had another invention. So I'll tell you the invention that we're working on is, it's a red dot scope. So that is green, and then last 5 bullets it switches to red to notify the shooter that they're almost out of ammunition. So how we do that is in the magazine, the follower, we attach a magnet to the follower, and then as you shoot rounds, we sense magnetism, and as it comes up, it'll tell the scope to switch colors. So this is really important so you don't run out of ammunition on the battlefield. Well, anyway, the CEO of this company was big in aviation and also big into the magnet industry. So I was like, at the time we were about to file for the patent for the scope. It's all filed, but I was like, this is a perfect person I need to like partner with. And I remember for like in the meeting, he just like, it just turned into him like wanting to hire me the whole time. So he was just like, how he's like, it's really hard to, he said like, what's your vision for like creating these products? And he's like, well, Oh, I said, I'm going to start a company, and I got this like shitty flyer that I made on, like Microsoft Word. And he's like, it's really hard, starting a company out of nothing, especially, as a college student with no money. And I'm like, yeah, I've been applying for grants, been pretty successful doing that. And he he goes, well, what about, getting medical care? That's pretty expensive when on your own. And I was like, I got the National Guard for that. And he just kept trying to like want to hire me the whole time. But, I don't know if it was just me being stubborn or what it was, but I was like, I just had it in my head. Like I shouldn't make, I feel like if I worked for him, then my ideas, my like inventions, when it like come to life, I felt like it wouldn't be the same. So, um, yeah, I ended up not taking the job or taking the offer, which is kind of interesting. Like I see a lot of those college kids like putting in a resume, and they're trying to like have a high GPA where like if you show like whatever you're going for a job for, if you show like experience of yourself solving problems or doing whatever that is, whatever you're trying to get a job for, if you show them like running in that direction, you don't really need you know much of a resume. I mean, much of a, just having the resume in that situation was the project I was working on, and my presentation and my like way of being of like, and being excited, seeing a problem and creating a solution. But yeah, it was kind of disheartening knowing that that wasn't the route for Grypmat. But long story short, the professor was cool with it, and he let me skip the final and like retake it later. Um, he was a good guy. I like explained everything. He's like, okay, it's all right. You just take it in my class or take it in my office. So I'm not cheating or anything. But yeah, yeah, it's been
That's
quite the world.
yeah, no, that's a really cool story to hear because um, you took a risk. And I think that's oftentimes what it's all about. Yes, you obviously have to do everything that you can to get to a certain point. You have to have the foundation set, but oftentimes people have incredible ideas and maybe they're surrounded by the right players or the right people to help them get to the next level. But there's a certain fear that either they'll fail or, people will make fun of them. Whatever their fear is, it holds them back from actually putting their words into action. So I'm pretty sure that you would say you're glad you left that day. And sure, it didn't work out for Grypmat, but you took a risk. You learned a little bit more about your passion. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably learned at that point when you were trying to be hired, like, I'm sure it was, an honor that he wanted to hire you, but you went in there with the intentions of being seen as an equal and being respected
Yeah,
as a businessman, right?
yeah. It's kind of wild now, like seeing him at trade shows. The first time he saw me and like people were surrounded around the booth, it was almost like he saw a ghost. But yeah, um, it is, yeah, definitely like what you said of being like treated as equal was definitely cool. But one thing that I want to touch on when you talked about risk, I think it is a risk, but I think as an entrepreneur or someone who's like, going to make a big leap in a direction like that, like I feel like risk is a reason to like prevent a lot of people from moving forward. And I like something to consider is like, one, like how much can you mitigate the risk? Because the thing is, the risk is going to be different compared to each person. So like the thing is, Elon Musk takes massive risks all the time. But the thing is, it would be significantly riskier if another person would do it. The risk is so much smaller because he has the ability to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure the outcome is what I predict it to be. And if you have that mindset, then it's basically eliminating the risk or at least mitigating the risk. So yeah, I just see like a lot of people who are thinking like, I'm going to take this leap, I'm going to make a risk, but if you have the wherewithal of, I'm going to make this shit happen, I'm going to make it whatever I want to happen, then you're basically taking out the risk.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a great example. You're right. If it was anyone else in Elon's shoes, you wouldn't have the same outcome. Sure, there's a possibility maybe it could be better, but odds are it'd probably be worse because
Yeah.
he thinks on a different level. He surrounds himself with the right people, and that's what leads to his ability to be successful in that industry. So you're right. If someone else tried to do Grypmat, maybe the results would have been different. So it definitely does take the right person, but at the same time too, I know from my experience having failed at businesses or having pursued the road of entrepreneurship, there's a lot that I don't know and there's a lot that I'm not good at, but I know to seek those people out. And that's a conversation that I have with mentors, with business associates. Is, hey, I'm not good at this. Do you know someone who's in the garment industry? Do you know someone who can help me with the financial aspects or with marketing? So definitely surrounding yourself with the right people is going to be helpful and mitigate some of those risks that you mentioned 100%. The next question that I had for you was, before you went into Shark Tank, what was kind of your experience with Grypmat? Like, were you doing it alone? Were there people involved? Can you kind of walk us through the journey of Grypmat before it kind of exploded all over mainstream America?
Yeah. So going into Shark Tank, um, a lot of people's perception is that it was going like this. Like it was just, we were ready to go. Everything was on fire. So to kind of put a more clear perspective of what was happening is that um, by the time I was walking into Shark Tank, um, I just fulfilled. So I was just about to fulfill all of the orders from a Kickstarter. We had raised about $113,000 on Kickstarter, and the guy that I brought on board, who was working part time for Grypmat, he inspired the entire Kickstarter, and he ended up we ended up having a huge blowout, and he ended up quitting. Like ended up just leaving. He quit, and like very bad terms. So I'm left with like all of these orders to fulfill with Kickstarter. He's done multiple Kickstarters. He's ready to he was going to just like manage the whole shipping. I never dealt with anything with shipping. So we had I think like 5,000 Grypmats get delivered, and probably about 60% of them were covered in this, like, it was almost like a slime. It was basically mold release. So the concept is that you'd cover the mold with this release, so when you inject it, you can easily pull out the Grypmat. So we have about 60% of all these Grypmats not gripping. There was that. There was like some I had some like patent issues. I had some like accounting issues, and I was like really terrified that all of this was going to come to light on on uh, on ABC on Shark Tank, and I was going to be like exposed in front of everyone. So I I was like super like stressed out, really really nervous, really scared, and I was dealing like with a really heavy case of imposter syndrome. So my buddy, I was texting my buddy Jay, and he just was like, "Oh, yeah, you got a case of imposter syndrome," which imposter syndrome means like you're basically faking it the entire time and you're about to get exposed. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel. Like I've been faking it this whole time. Like I got all these orders on the way and none of these Grypmats are gripping. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, oh yeah, another big thing that was stressing me out from the Kickstarter. is after I did all the math, we were about plus or minus. So we had about $160,000 in pre-orders, and we were about plus or minus 2 or 3 grand. Like I was hoping to be negative $3,000 when it was over. So I'm like, damn, I don't want to like if the Sharks find this out, or this is going to be rough. So did the first practice pitch. You'll do a practice pitch with basically the cast, the the camera guys, the directors, and the producers. So you're doing a practice pitch to see if you're going to be entertaining enough to be on TV. So the thing is, you could do the practice pitch and bomb it, and they'll just tell you to go back to the hotel, and then they'll put you lower on the list, and then you could potentially never film with the Sharks. So the stressful part is that you can't. The stressful part is that they'll give you, they never give you the thumbs up that you'll be on the show until like 2 weeks in advance of you airing. So you'll film, you could even get a deal and then not even air. So you basically, what's happening is they're having like entrepreneurs on standby in case if someone drops out or gets or whatever, and then they can just throw someone in so they're not wasting the Sharks' time. So the thing is, I do the practice pitch, I bomb it so bad because I'm so stressed out that my producer has to yell out the next line to like get me to keep going. And I yell out to the director. I was like, can I go one more time? And he says, no. And he like runs up to the front because I had a jet on stage, and I had the jet at that time, and he started taking selfies with the jet. And then everyone just started flooding up to get selfies with the jet. And I'm just like freaking out in the corner. And my producer's like, it'll be okay. Do you, she's like, do you pray? Cause like, I think we should pray if you do that. And she's just doing anything to get me to calm down. And, yeah, cause I felt like I just blew it. I just felt like, man, I've been wanting to do this for so long, and envisioning going on the show. And, this is like, I feel like they could open a lot of doors for me. And, yeah, then the next day was an off day, basically nothing doing with Shark Tank. And I spent the entire day in the parking lot, like rehearsing the pitch and nailing down the questions and everything. I was rehearsing it so many times that I could feel myself losing my voice. So then I would like take a break, go get lunch, or it was about like 15 hours of practicing. Or I went to, I think they call it Muskland. It's like a Tesla and like a SpaceX center, like next to each other. It's like a big, like SpaceX rocket. Went there for like some inspiration, and then went back to practicing, and then the next day just killed it. So it was cool. It was like an hour and a half presentation. They cut it down to 12 minutes. So had some like nerdy times. For example, Branson and I had the same birthday, and there was like this really awkward time. He mentioned something. He said something funny, and I was like, "Yeah, we also have the same birthday." And everyone just kind of like was like, "That was kind of out of place." And then I go, "Yeah, we're both left-handed too." And then I'm like, "All right, I need to just like fucking stop being creepy." But yeah, and then it was like silent, and then Laura was like, she's like, "So tell me where you're from." Like just completely switching the topic of like, all right, this is getting weird. But yeah,
Well,
worked out.
yeah, and you're right. You definitely killed it. I saw the episode, and it's funny because I'm pretty avid. Like, I love Shark Tank. I love just the idea of people going out there and just giving it their all, going out on their dreams. But for some reason, I didn't catch this episode. And, I don't think it was until a few months ago that you and I started talking. I had seen an article published in Forbes, and I think it was like the Forbes 30 or 30 under 30 that they put you in. And so I started reading up on it, and I was like, man, this is incredible. And that's when I messaged you like, hey man, thanks for, being an inspiration for veterans and for service members and showing what we're capable of. But yeah, as that time has progressed, I've definitely seen, how animated you are, and I think it's a great thing. I think it has some sort of like charisma. You know, when you go and talk to people, you definitely make them feel like you guys grew up together. You know, there's a mutual relationship there, so it's never awkward. And the one thing that I was going to say, and I haven't told you yet, was there was one post you did where you were working with a mechanic, and it was just like maybe even a mom and pop mechanic shop. It wasn't anything big, but I was like, this is what makes him different when it comes to entrepreneurs, CEOs, businessmen. He's out there working at mom and pop shops, like interacting with a customer, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that, whether you learn that from the military, you know, engaging with people down on the ground level, or whether you learn that at Toledo in school, I just thought that that was one thing that made you extremely unique and has helped you continue to branch out and attract a larger following. So that was one
Yeah.
thing that I saw that was really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. There's something that's like cool from that is recently I posted about like who's unemployed or who's still working at this time. And there was a mechanic that was really struggling financially. So what we were able to do is that we've been switching our focus on like growing our SEO, which like search engine optimization, and um, so right now we're able to like pay him to make articles and how-to videos for us. So he's not, working like fixing cars like normal, but now he can, he's like, he is getting a couple of jobs in, but not the amount of frequency he wants. And I'm like, take a little bit more time on the job and like record it and make a how-to video, and we can crop it up and we can make it into an article and we can use that as content for our stuff, and we'll pay you for the content. So definitely being more involved with those mom and pop shops and those end users. It is really definitely fruitful as an entrepreneur. And something back in the day I did to like help grow Grypmat was um, in the aviation industry. Anything that was like, if there was a post that had a lot of likes and shares about maintenance, anyone that shared it or liked it, I would friend request all of them. And it was a lot of people I didn't know. And what's crazy now is like I learned to like I've like gotten to know them over time. And like I've had crazy things happen. Like um, this one lady, Sandra, she's been like a huge advocate for Grypmat. She's bought like 30 Grypmats and like gives them out for gifts. Ending up meeting her at like an air show in Florida, and like learning how to like that she's in law enforcement, and they basically like to clean their equipment in their Grypmats. So it's like another market that we've like learned from doing that. Or this one time I was in New Orleans, and I was speaking at a military event, and I had like another day afterwards that was like free, and I just posted on Facebook. I was like, "Hey, anyone in New Orleans?" And this lady that I randomly added, her name was Erin, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm in New Orleans. What's up?" And I was like, "Hey, I just got an extra day. Was looking for something to do." And she goes, "Well, you could go to this airport and invite a bunch of people to come to, and you can show off the Grypmat." And I was like, "Well, I don't know how much it would cost to like rent a room, and I don't know like how much it would, or I don't know who to invite." And she goes, "Well, I'm a part of all the like, you know, aviation groups in town, and all part of all the nice cars. They call them wings and wheels." She's like, "I'm a part of all the wings and wheels groups. I'll just invite people, and I know the owner of the airport. You could just set up in a room, side room for free." She goes, "Just go across the street and pick up some donuts and just bring them." So we get there and we set everything up, and like for like a half an hour, like no one comes. And then there was like a hot like 15 to 30 minutes. We probably sold like $800 worth of Grypmats, and one dude came from like 2 states away. And he was like, yeah, I saw this got posted, and I've been watching the Grypmat for a couple years grow on Facebook. Somehow we became friends, and I just wanted to come and meet you. And he ended up buying like like $200 worth of Grypmats, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Just like adding people, like meeting people, and just putting out in the universe of like, hey, I'm in New Orleans. What, who else is here? And it worked out. Met like a lot of people that way. I get a lot of people that like will come by my booth at trade shows, and they'll be like, hey, we're friends on Facebook. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen you post a lot of stuff. And then we'll just, I mean, it helps with, that relationship really helps with like word of mouth, and like, getting to know and understand your customer, and how, they operate. So it's beneficial for everyone.
Again, just so many great things that you're doing. Going back to the story about you working with local mechanics and teaching them how to innovate, I think that's a huge one, especially when you look at what's going on today. A lot of these businesses may not see tomorrow, and that could be for some reasons, but one of the main ones is if they are brick and mortar, they're not utilizing social media, the internet, IT, SEO, all these things to their advantage. So you helping him and teaching him to think like that, I guarantee, and you already know this, but not only will he be a fan and an advocate for life for whatever you do, but that's going to be someone that respects you and thinks extremely highly of you. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do as an entrepreneur, is just inspire others and build genuine relationships. So that's definitely huge in my book. And the other part I was going to say is you're right. When it comes to things like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, your network and your ability to meet people can grow exponentially. I know ever since I started this podcast and I've been talking to people, I now have friends that are attorneys for veterans filing disability claims. I have other ones who represent startups and entrepreneurship. I have, friends in the Department of Defense, in FEMA, in all different organizations. And it's because I took the time to reach out to them. I didn't ask for anything. I just said, hey, I noticed your profile and I'd honestly like to learn more about you and your story. And I think forming that genuine relationship is what has given me the ability to connect with so many people, individuals like you. So everyone that's watching this right now, just remember that even if you don't know that many people, if you have the ability to download an app on your phone, use your laptop, you can grow your network across the world. And maybe one day you're in a state or a city you've never been to, you put out a post, and next thing you know, you've got 30 new friends. So it's just really cool to see some stuff like that. But the next question that I had for you was, obviously, you getting in front of the sharks was terrifying. You said you practiced for 15 hours. Do you think that your military experience played any role in your success? Like when you were in the military, did you ever go on military boards, whether it was for meritorious promotion, or did they teach you how to speak to senior members? Like, did you receive any training that you think was influential in that?
Yeah, there is a point of like in the military, especially through like basic training of, being forced to speak when you're scared shitless. So, definitely speaking when I'm, the practice of being pretending to be confident when you're scared shitless was definitely something that I've, was useful with the sharks. I would say like definitely the most beneficial thing that I've gotten from the military is in the entrepreneur world is just like an instant like respect. So the sharks are going to, respect someone who's, you know, has the military persona and also is like creating a product that's born from the military. So, and that's also like is a very good story and makes a good story. So that is something that is really encouraged by Shark Tank. So that on that veteran, or maybe someone still in the service, that military member who wants to start their own company, they have a huge advantage by basically having this instant respect, by having this inside knowledge, and then also by having this like instant like network of like almost everyone knows someone who's been in the military. So you have this instant like relatability to have with with others, that basically anyone, where there's been times where like when we were filming the Kickstarter, um I was at a trade show and someone called me and said, "Hey, I wanted to buy some Grypmats. Where are you from?" Or "I want to buy some Grypmats." And I was like, what's your address? I'll ship them to you. He goes, "I'm in Columbus." I was like, "I just moved to Columbus a week ago. I'll come and drop them off." And I go to drop them off, and we're about to do a Kickstarter, and it was the hanger for L Brands. L Brands does like Victoria's Secrets, Abercrombie, and everything. And I go, could we like film a Kickstarter here? And the guy goes, "Well, I have to talk to my boss." And I'm talking, and he says it to the boss, and the boss did not want it. He's like, "No." He didn't say no yet, but he's like, "What is this?" So I'm showing him the product, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a F-16 mechanic in the Air Force, and like having this problem, and it's also something in general aviation." And he goes, "Oh, you're in the Air Force?" He goes, "What's your job?" And then I was like, "I'm a weapons mechanic." He goes, "My son, he's an avionics mechanic for the same plane." And turns out we're like the same rank and everything. And and once that like click happened, he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, yeah, we can do it." He's like, "Just pick a day that we're very busy." And so actually what's happened with that is, I'll show you a quick picture, is that so a quick tip for entrepreneurs is like my background in my phone is a picture of the product. So when I'm like telling someone about the Grypmat, I'll be like, "Yeah, it's a flexible tool tray." Boom, I got a picture. So that plane right there is actually the L Brands plane. So I've been using that picture like the entire time to like quickly describe it. So the like a to like wrap it up, is like a big advantage that you have is that military network, is everyone can relate to it, and everyone, most people will respect it.
Right. Definitely. It does bring a certain amount of mutual, like, not even respect, but it does make a relationship. I think I've reached out to people who I've never met before. And once we find out that we're service members, I remember I was doing a tour at the University of Maryland. And so they took me down to the Veteran Center, and I met this young kid, and he's like, "Oh, you were in the military?" I was like, "Yeah, I was a Marine." And he's like, "Oh, okay, what's going on, Devil?" And I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I was like, "You were a Marine?" He was like, "No, I was a corpsman." And so like instantly, just instant bond right there. So
Yeah.
it is cool getting to go to other places and just have that connection with people. And that's where I was kind of going to lead into the next question was, once you reached a certain level, once you were on TV, once you were getting published in Forbes, did people that you served with or fellow people from the military community reach out like for help, whether it's they had inventions of their own or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll get people that'll reach out. Um, I starting to speak more at military bases. The military is really pushing for innovation. So whenever it comes to an event, I'm a pretty good like candidate or fit for that. So it has been really cool to be a part of that. Be able to like go to that speaking event and like reach a really large group of other people with new ideas and be able to support them more hands-on. I have had quite a few people. Someone who's like reached out was John, a company called Toolbox Widget. We got connected through Bunker Labs, and it's been really cool to like see Toolbox Widget like really grow. I think I got connected with him a little after. I think it was within a year of Shark Tank. It might have been closer to that, but he's a really innovative guy. He's a very scrappy, fast learner. He was a Marine, and he did a lot of like general aviation, some like helicopter stuff, some like business jet stuff, and he's got a product that you can like quickly organize your drawers. So it's been really cool to work with him, just because we have like our markets are like 99% the same, probably 100% the same. So it's really cool to I feel like John is so like, I hate the concept of like a mentor-mentee relationship, because every time I talk to John, I feel like there's things that I've learned and things that he's learned that we can, trade with and then work together on, where I think they say like rising boats brings rising tides or something like that. Just basically like all the boats are going to be raising, like one of us succeed, we all succeed. So it's definitely cool, like seeing those others that reach out, and then we're building like a tribe of, successful entrepreneurs.
That's incredible. What do you say to those people who do want to go down the path of entrepreneurship and are maybe too nervous or don't have the right team around them? Are there resources or organizations that you would recommend they connect with when they're first getting started?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, so almost every single individual has like a special group that they can be a part of, whether you're in the military or not. So if you're, there's things for young college entrepreneurs, for female entrepreneurs, for like certain tech companies, anything. You just have to like find like whatever group that you fit in, just find it. And, there'll be those resources for doing business competitions or grants or whatever it is, where, and specifically in the military, Bunker Labs is a good resource. And also AFWorks is big in the Air Force. It's AFWERX. They're doing a lot of like rapid innovation and like giving out a lot of like grant money to they're focusing on the products that they delegate grant money to. They want something that's going to make the Air Force better, and also something that can be commercialized. So there'll be, an output and like more jobs and finances that will circulate within the civilian world. But as a military member, definitely starting at Bunker Labs. And another really good one is Startup Weekend, which I can't like talk enough like positive things about Startup Weekend. And someone who's new, like definitely it's amazing program to be in. So basically what happens is, if it's a fresh idea, you'll pitch, there'll be about 100 people who will pitch fresh ideas, and they'll vote on roughly like the top 10 to 15. And then if you didn't pitch an idea, or your idea didn't get selected, you'll get into and you'll join a group who did. And then the entire weekend, you just push the idea forward. That's a really, scrappy mindset that those people have. And also, if it's, they're good at testing things fast and finding like the cheapest ways of doing things, which when you have no money, that's really important. And another massive resource is Patriot Boot Camp, which is put on by Techstars. I was going to be speaking at the last one in San Francisco, but it got canceled due to COVID. But they do one every year. The only one I ever did was in Detroit years ago. And I want to say it was like 2014 probably 2016. I'm not sure, but a lot of those guys I'm still in contact with, and we've actually, one of them is helped start AFWorks, and because of like we met then when we did a Shark Tank update with Mark Cuban, it was with AFWorks, so that wouldn't have been connected if we didn't go to Patriot Bootcamp. So those are like Bunker Labs, Patriot Bootcamp, and Startup Weekend are three awesome resources.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those, guys. Please heed this advice. There's so much to learn when it comes to the world of business, when it comes to promoting and branding yourself. And there's tons of opportunities, especially if you're a military veteran. If you guys are on active duty, another one that I'll recommend is Boots to Business. You guys mentioned, or you guys heard me mention it earlier. That was, I believe, a week-long course. And when I was stationed in Quantico, Virginia, I took that course, and it was incredible because we had entrepreneurs who were veterans come in and talk about their experiences. They talked about where they failed. They even shared other resources with us. And at the end of it, they definitely shared how we can contact them. So like Tom is saying, you go to these events and you network with these people. If you guys form some sort of bond, oftentimes you guys will continue to help each other and stay in contact. So it's just a good opportunity for you guys to get out there, practice more, and build your network. So that way, either when you're in a position to take things to the next level or someone needs help, you can do so. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing those. The last thing I want to do before we end today's episode is open it up for you to kind of say some things that either you have in the works or a piece of advice that you would like to leave with today's viewers.
Yeah, I would say I've seen a lot of people in a rough spot with jobs, with entrepreneurship right now due to COVID. And what I want to say is that the game is not over. There's just new rules. And what I mean by that is, with our environment, our economy switching to a new system, having the mindset of looking at opportunity instead of looking at it as an obstacle is very valuable at this time. And whoever's going to be like the quickest to shift and be a shift master, that's going to be the person that's going to be successful in this time. So right now, like, I feel like throughout Grypmat, I've been pushing myself to like being forced to shift. And a lot of times it's in very like stressful situations, but now I'm to the point where I feel that like something like the pandemic, there's so much opportunity that we can pivot on, that like this month is going to be one of our highest months so far for Grypmat, just because we've been shifting so much and finding so much more opportunity out of COVID-19. So definitely just keep shifting, find a way out of no way. Don't say I can't. When you say I can't, your brain shuts down. But when you say how can I, you're constantly searching for a solution. A couple examples of how we've been being able to shift is so when COVID was really recent, it was actually the night that they had restaurants shut down. I got a one-way ticket to go to Hawaii, and I've been in Hawaii for the past 6 months, and it's been an absolute blast. And another thing is that we focus on the automotive industry, and the automotive industry is completely flatlined. So we had like no revenue coming in. So one thing, we were able to get on Good Morning America, which got a lot of exposure, and getting on Good Morning America gave us a boost of selling 9,000 Grypmats in a day. And we shifted from selling to the auto industry to shifting to the law enforcement and in-home defense market. So those two markets are using the Grypmats to clean their firearms. So that's been, between those two things, have been pushing us back up. So I guess what I'm saying is just like, keep being a shift master, keep looking at it as an opportunity instead of an obstacle. And you just keep seeing blessings fall out of the sky left and right. So.
Awesome. And for
Yeah.
people who are interested in following your journey, connecting with you, how can they get connected and stay in tune with what's going on with Grypmat and your other projects that you're working?
Yeah. So you can find Grypmat, Grypmat. You can find Grypmat, go to our website. You can get on our email lists. You can follow us on Instagram. That's where we're the most active, or on our Facebook page. You can follow me at Tom26Burden. That's you can on Instagram, on TikTok now. I like making TikTok videos; they're pretty fun. And yeah, feel free to send me a DM or anything. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tom, again, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on here to learn some of the background story behind how you got to this point. And really, I think the one thing that I'm going to walk away with is, like you said, continue to shift. For everyone that's out there, we know that this is going to be a tough time. There's going to continue to be tough times. But if you have the ability to shift your mindset and surround yourself with people who see opportunity, you can make it. So again, just a huge thank you to you. We'll definitely continue to follow your journey. And for everyone that's listening and watching today, please support Tom and what he's doing. And like he said, feel free to connect with him. If you guys have questions about entrepreneurship, I know that he'll be more than willing to help you guys out. So again, just a huge thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to The Unwavering. Please rate and comment on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star and a great comment, and we may just read it on a future episode. Also, follow us on social platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to check back with us next week.